All right, guys, so welcome back to the channel like always. And today I have the OnePlus N30 5G. This is the device right here. Now, normally I would wait a little bit longer to do the review, but I've used it for, I'll say for the full day and well, a couple days now. And if I'm being completely honest with you, the phone has some hiccups. Originally, when I talked about a previous video, I said that this is a ideal phone for certain people for a certain price tag, and I still feel that way. But I think that there's some things that we need to talk about that some of you guys are going to be concerned about. So with that being said, let's go ahead and unbox it together and see exactly what comes with it and if it's worth the actual asking price. All right, guys, so this is the phone right here, the OnePlus N30 5G in all its glory. Now, I haven't had it that long, obviously. If you guys saw my last video, then you know it's no more than a couple days since I had the phone. Originally, I was going to wait a couple weeks to do a review, but I've, to be honest, I've had the phone long enough where I can at least do the initial unboxing and just talk to you guys about it in real time and show you some of the cameras and things like that. Of course, any issues that I have come across, I will let you know in a separate video about issues with this particular device. So with that being said, you are getting a 6.7-inch screen phone, which is, I think, the biggest one that you can get in the mid-tier market for OnePlus devices. Well, maybe the N200. I forget the exact size of those particular devices, but the N30, the last one I think was 6.4. This one is 6.7. It is an ICD, I believe, called display. I'm sorry, IPS LCD display, but is at 120 hertz. So the screen still moves very smoothly. The touch is very responsive, if we're being honest. I have a tempered glass on it, and it's like a little cheap one, so that's why it keeps doing this. But if I swipe up and down right here, as you can see, it does actually work very, very well. Let me get in camera frame so you guys can see that. It's about 391 PPI for guys that want to know about that. There is an always on display, but I turn that off because battery I don't know how to say the word. I prioritize the battery whenever I actually use the phone every day. It does ship with Android 13, Oxygen OS 13.1. We already talked about this, the Snapdragon 695 5G. I said that in another video. And the graphics is Adreno 619. So that's been the same for many years. I don't know why they don't decide to give this thing a better GPU in general, in addition to the chipset, but it is what it is. For the $279 or whatever it costs normal price, that's still very, very affordable. And if you're a Metro by T-Mobile customer, you already know it's $89 for a new line. Free if you're porting from like a Boost Mobile or Cricket or AT&T or Verizon. If you're coming from T-Mobile, you'll get the new line price, but not the porting price. So kind of be aware of that. In addition to that, it does have, like I said, the fingerprint scanner right here. I think I mentioned that. So just hold this, it turns right on. You just press your finger on it. You're not pressing the button in. You press it in to lock it, to unlock it. To use the fingerprint, just press your finger, unlocks almost instantaneously. Very, very fast, very accurate. Let me show you a different one. So I'm going to double tap to wake it up. See that pit? That's the face unlock, as you saw. So it unlocked super easy. So the face unlock is very responsive. The fingerprint is very responsive. I like it so far for that reason alone. We also have a headphone jack on the bottom, guys. Headphone jack, USB-C, as you can see. Lock button is on the right side, and like normal phones, because I don't like when Androids do this, you have the volume button on the left side, which I prefer, and the lock button on the right side. You have the SIM tray right here. If you pull it up for you, so you guys can see it, the SIM tray, and it also has the SD card slot inside, which I actually have a 256 gig memory card inside of it. So, yay me. I definitely need the space. Right here, we have the cameras on the back, and believe it or not, this is a 108 megapixel camera. These two are 2 megapixels right here. This is the flash. I don't care about these. I'm not even going to mention these crappy cameras right here because it doesn't do you any justice whatsoever. Anything that's 2 megapixels, if we're being completely honest here on lower end phones, is just for show, to trick people and say, hey, we're giving you a macro lens and something else, but it's not really going to work the way you want it to. And if we're being honest, it's very cheap, the camera. But what I will say is that the camera is decent enough for a lot of people that just want to take basic photos, basic pictures. The video camera only does like 1080p, 30 frames, not even 60. But if I'm wrong, we're going to go through that together anyway. But so far, there's no option to switch between 60 frames. There's no 4K option, which is a real pain. But keep in mind, I talked about this in another video. The Samsung A54 5G guess what? Has 4K, and the Pixel that's recording right now has 4K and it's recording in 4K as we speak. So that's why I say when it comes to specifications, you know, it's really all about what it is that you want to use the phone for. Some people don't care about cameras like that, and they prefer about longevity and battery life, which does have 5,000 mAh battery. In addition, like I said, you have this super fast charging, which I'll repeat it like I did before. 30 minutes gets you 80% on this charger, about 45 to 50 full charge. So if you wake up in the morning and you're one of those irresponsible people that don't charge their phones, like my wife, this phone will charge super fast for you. You can hop in the shower, make breakfast, do whatever you want to do. And by the time you walk out the door, guess what? You got 80%. And if you're at 0%, you pop it on the charger, you only have 15 minutes, guess what? You're at 40%. So either way, it's a very fast charger, and I like that aspect about it. The front camera is actually 16 megapixels. And again, like I said, they only do 30 frames. I wouldn't have been mad with this phone if it did at least 60 frames, 1080p, which is still pretty decent. But if you're doing, again, because I YouTube, I normally prefer the 4K. Now, I will eventually do reviews because this is my daily driver right now. So I'm considering keeping the Pixel just as a camera and then using this as my daily driver because of the fast charging speeds and everything. Love it. Love that aspect about it. We will talk more about gaming and other things. But anyway, the Bluetooth is 5.1. It does have NFC. I have my Android Pay set up on this device already. We already talked about the USB-C aspect, and that's pretty much it. I don't believe it comes in any colors outside of, I think it's like chromatic gray is what you see right here. That's pretty much it. But let's go on to the next section and talk about how it actually performs in real-time tasks like gaming and things like Canva and just editing in general. So this right here is Call of Duty Mobile, in case you guys are wondering what it is. Runs very smoothly on this particular device, if we're being honest here. I actually happen to like it a lot. Now, normally, I actually do ranked matches, which I'm not doing currently at the moment. And depending on if too much is going on in your screen, your phone tends to lag. Now, not this particular one. This phone actually runs very, very well, surprisingly. And I wasn't expecting that. I expected a lot of lag and resistance, but it works. It works very, very well. Minimal lag, occasional hiccup here and there. The touch is very responsive. I'm sorry, let me get myself into camera view. The touch is very responsive when you're playing games like Call of Duty. I've tried Genshin Impact on lower settings. It actually works, believe it or not. I've also played Diablo Immortal. That game also works for this particular device. So for the gamer out there, you're not going to have any issues playing more high intensive games, though you might have to change the settings. The Call of Duty I have on right now is actually on a lower setting. Well, not lower, I'm sorry. It's actually on high with the high frame rate. So other phones can go substantially higher in graphics than this, but it works well. It works very, very well. And I do apologize for all the slow talking. I'm actually in a match, so I'm trying to somewhat focus. I won't embarrass myself, even though our team is losing. But anyway, it plays very well. Pokemon Go plays very well. I don't have any issues. And even when it comes to the heat of the GPU, it's almost non-existent in terms of, you know, unless you're in the hot sun, you shouldn't have any issues. At least that's the way I feel about it. I've played this game for about an hour and a half, and it does get warm in the back, but never so hot to the point where it's hot to the touch. Some phones do that. Cheaper phones, if we're being honest here. But this one works very well. Anyway, I'm pretty much repeating the same thing at this point. Let's go on to the next section. Alright guys, so in terms of the video recorder, the reason why I'm recording right here instead of outside is that I want to give you guys an accurate assessment of how this is going to be. Now, this is 1080p, 30 frames. Just move it slowly. As you can see, like, it looks a little choppy at times, or it looks like it's kind of lagging behind. That's because it doesn't have 60 frames. 60 frames on the camera really makes a huge difference on what it can do. Now look how close I am to that, right? Let's go ahead and look at the writing on this. If there is any writing, here we are. As you can see, it's having problems focusing. You can't really read the words right there, if we're being honest. Well, you can read them, but it's very, very faded. Let's go over to the OnePlus device. You notice how everything looks extremely bright with these cameras. I don't know why that is. For whatever reason, I need you guys to understand, I never adjusted anything on this camera. I opened it up, made sure it was in 1080p, Made sure that it was the highest resolution for the pictures, and that's the way I left it. I didn't change any other setting or anything, tweak anything. And as you see, it just doesn't work. I mean, it works, but it's just not very sharp, if we're being honest here. And I know some of you guys are going to be very disappointed with seeing this, but the photo quality is still, to me, a little brighter than what it should be. And I'm going to show you that right now. All right, so here are some of the photos that I actually took with the phone to kind of give you an idea of how it's going to look. So the first things first is let's take a look at the selfie. So right here, as you can see, it's not a bad selfie, if we're being completely honest here in terms of just the quality of the camera. Some people will be perfectly fine with this. Now, if you're coming from a Pixel or a Samsung A54 or some type of mid-tier device that may be more powerful than this one, you're going to notice that it just doesn't look as good, or the lighting could be extra bright at times, especially if you take photos. For some reason, every photo that I took always seemed extra bright, and I am not in a well-lit area on purpose. I did it that way on purpose. Right here, here's a selfie for you to give you guys a kind of idea of different lighting situations, how clear it'll actually be for the selfie cam. Now, this is actually pictures that I took at work when I was taking pictures of the Pixel, just in real time. Like I said, they aren't horrible photos or anything, but whenever you try to catch an object moving, it just doesn't have the processing power to stabilize the photo. As you can see, this is the same vehicle that's turning right there, and this is also a picture that I took when I was actually scootering to work. So again, in lighting, it works very, very well. When it comes to bad lighting, or like let's say you have dim lights, the wattage for the inside of your computer room or bedroom or bathroom isn't too bright. Let's say you're at a party or it's dimly lit, this phone is not going to excel in terms of quality of photos. So please do be aware of that, especially if you're a photographer or aspiring to be. In addition to that, I decided to take pictures of the showcase right here. One of them, well, two of them, and as you can see, even if you zoom in, you can tell what's here, but it's like the quality of the product just doesn't seem like it's really there. You can definitely tell that it even though it's 108 megapixels, it doesn't make a difference if the processor can't really handle what it's taking a picture of. That's one of the reasons why the Pixel device actually overheats. I think that it overcompensates with the processor, and they didn't quite optimize it correctly, the Pixel 6a, but the pictures came out a lot more flawless if I was to do a comparison with that phone. And the last one right here, sorry, let's go this way, is another little showcase that I have here with the pops. And again, like I said, if I took this on a different device, it would look a lot brighter. For whatever reason, the OnePlus just doesn't excel at pictures, if we're being honest here. But ideally, given the price tag of the phone, given what it could do with the charging speeds, it does make it up in other areas that it lacks. But again, if you're a camera person, I can't necessarily suggest this phone, especially if the A54 5G and the Pixel are a little bit cheaper in terms of porting or new line prices for Metro by T-Mobile. But anyway, with that being said, let's go on to the next section and actually just talk about if this phone actually worth purchasing. So this right here, guys, is UCut and Canva. Now, I use my phone for productivity reasons. Everybody's different. Now, the reason I'm showing you this test, you may never use this feature in your entire life, and that's perfectly fine. But I'm showing it for a reason for those that do things on their phone outside of just video games and emails, whether the phone can actually handle it. So right here we have Canva. If you've never heard of this, this is an editing app that allows you to do social media posts, other things, backgrounds, thumbnails. This is pretty much what I use. And as you can see, that's how fast it actually closed or loaded. Let's do it again. With the Snapdragon 695, this is how long it's going to take to load normally. Of course, it also varies on your 5G connection. So it's actually very, very good. Now, if I go to see all, click that. Here we are. And it loads up things pretty fast. We keep going. Yeah, so as you can see, it loads up a lot of the information very fast. The Snapdragon 695, even though it's not a new amazing processor, it still works good enough for the average person that's looking to do, you know, just generic web browsing. If you want more than web browsing, editing, if you want to do more than editing, you know, taking photos and videos, it transitions very nicely. And the phone actually doesn't get too hot when doing any of those things. Like I said, I'm recording with the Pixel, and unfortunately, there's times where I have to stop the Pixel from recording and just let it sit for a while because the processor, I'm assuming, is overworking, and it makes it actually heat up. And it could get very, very bad if we're being honest here. So that's one of the reasons why I decided to switch from the Pixel. Primarily is because, again, the camera meant everything to me and I can't use it the way I want to. Anyway, with that being said, there's also an application called UCut. Now, normally for UCut, what you're able to do, which I'm going to show you guys, is I went to edit. This is basically, you're able to put multiple videos together, right? So this is how it'll play out. Normally it's something here, but it's actually missing right now. This is the intro to one of my YouTube pages, Nothing Untouched, my second one, which is also monetized. And as you can see, it allows you to be able to add multiple videos. So for some of you guys that don't know how to do that, UCut is a free application. Though if you pay for it, I think it's I forget how much it is to own it or pay for it yearly, but it has a lot of cool features. So if you hit save, right, it won't allow me to go to 4K because the phone's not actually in 4K. As you can see, it can't go up higher than that. It only does 1080p 30 frames, which is very disappointing in terms of camera. But it converts a video so that you will actually have it inside of your folder moving forward. And once that's done, you're able to post it, whether you're doing shorts, Instagram posts, whatever it is. You have the option, or just editing a family photo. It doesn't make a difference. It's a very good application. And the reason I'm showing this to you guys is because this is what I primarily do on my phone. I know some of you guys have PCs. I do too. But if I'm at work, I normally edit, add music, do everything necessary to use this phone as a standalone device, just in case I'm away from my computer for a couple of days. You never know. It works very well in that regard. Obviously, the processor could be a lot better. The phone is getting kind of warm with what I just did, including the whole Call of Duty, me playing that. I'm doing everything in succession, back to back, to show you guys how well it actually operates. So with that being said, I'm rambling. It works very well in the technical department. So all in all, guys, like I said before, I'm recording this with the Pixels. Look how smooth that is with the Pixel, right? And I showed you the section of the video where this was actually recording. It's a huge, huge dramatic difference in dip in quality. But you have to understand that, again, the Google Pixel uses a substantially better processor that they make themselves versus the generic Snapdragon 695 that so many companies have been recycling over and over again practically every single year with small quality of life changes. Now, is this better than an A54 5G? Absolutely not. Is this better than the Pixel? Absolutely not. It's not better than either one of those phones, and I would suggest either one of them over this. But what this does have, it's a bigger screen. It also has the extremely fast warp charging. Now, like I said before, there are some issues that I came across with this phone. Nothing life-threatening or anything like that, but I will explain it in another video. This is just a simple unboxing showing you the device, what it can do, what it's capable of, the fact that it does work with gaming, the fact that, you know, everyday usage, scrolling through applications, Facebook, Instagram. I didn't have any issues with it so far doing that. So if you were to purchase it, and depending which device you're coming from, this will be a huge and major upgrade. Though, like I said, with Metro by T-Mobile, the Pixel and the A54 5G right now are $49 under a new line. This is $89 under a new line, which I don't think it should be. It's cheaper than both those phones total overall, but for it to be that price tag, I know they're expecting people and OnePlus users to come rushing to the, flocking to the store to buy it, but you have better options out there. So hopefully OnePlus will drop the price of this phone initially for Metro by T-Mobile, but outside of that, I do like it. I know some of you will say, well, Ian, why are you using it if you're a YouTuber? Like I said, I'm going to use the Pixel as a camera, so that solves my problem. This, on the other hand, charges extremely fast, and because I work at a job where I'm always on the go, I have a lot of things that I absolutely need to do. This works out well for me. So again, if you're coming from an N20, you'll like this. If you're coming from an N10 5G, you'll like this. You're used to it. If you're coming from an A54 5G, this is something that you can settle for without a doubt, but you're going to notice quality of life changes and a lot of things lacking. Remember, Samsung software is entirely different than OnePlus. If you're coming from Google, the software experience is going to be astronomically different. To me, Google has the best software in my opinion. Samsung is fun and it stays fresh, but Google is just more ideal. You could be on a phone call with a 1-800 number and it'll transcribe the call and you can download it. That's what Google does. Like, that's what they're known for. OnePlus is OnePlus, and this is just a generic device. But anyway, Let me know what you guys think. Like always, like and subscribe. And if you have any questions about the device, I have no problem doing some extra review parts for it. Just write it down in the comment section below.